talk about. Let's go to the Big Ten. Let's go to a team that's freaking undefeated. Ohio State versus Indiana, and Ohio State's not the undefeated team. Indiana's undefeated heading this way, and people want to poop on Indiana's schedule, right? But I think it's important to look at how they've beaten these teams. They've massacred everyone, even Michigan. I mean, I know it got closer there at the end. It was a one possession game, but come on. I mean, Indiana was in control of that football game, right? So Ohio State has played better football, I think, these last couple weeks. You're seeing production from all of their wide receivers. Carnell Tate's looked good, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith. From a running back perspective, Quinshon Judkins hasn't looked awesome, but Travion Henderson, has kind of picked up a lot. And defensively, I think you've seen a couple really impressive performances from Ohio State the last couple weeks. Unlike you saw against their effort, unlike you saw when they played against Oregon or even Nebraska. Honestly, I wasn't that impressed with their defense earlier this season. So this is going to be a barn burner. It's in Columbus. Not a game that we had circled on our calendar heading into the season, but here we are, both teams controlling their own destiny when it comes to the college football playoffs and making the Big Ten championship.
This one's going to be awesome. I think we've had this circled, I think, for a couple weeks now. A lot of people have, too, in terms of, what Indiana's schedule looked like, how they were playing early in the season. And, if they can get there and be 10-0, this could get really, really interesting. Indiana's coming off a bye. Yes, they do have to travel to Columbus. But, man, oh, man, I think this coaching staff deserves a ton of credit for Indiana. And, how you can look at this game, because obviously there is going to be a talent edge. Absolutely. It's going to happen. There's going to be huge home field advantage there for Ohio State because, it's going to be wild there. But, man, oh, man, Kirk Cignetti, the coaching staff there has done such a good job. You give them an extra week to prepare, and they know, and they've heard all the whispers on the wall, their back's probably against the wall. They need to come out and at least look like they can play, right? I think they're going to come out fired up, ready to go. Defensively, I think this is where they have to make their mark. Everyone talks about Curtis Rourke and the offense and the wide receivers and Kirk Cignetti, blah, blah, blah. And while they've been amazing and they're obviously going to have to put up points, to me, defensively, you have to get after Will Howard. You have to stop the run. Indiana is leading the Big Ten in sacks in 31 sacks per game. That is
not per
awesome.
Game, but
I'm sorry, 31 sacks throughout the year.
Yeah.
Thank you. On the season,
which is over 3 sacks a game.
Yeah, which is freaking amazing. And then you also got defensively, through the ground. They are the top team in the Big Ten, 72 yards per game. And this Ohio State running back tandem, who has, dare I say, struggled compared to expectations, what we thought was going to be coming in season with them and Will Howard and Chip Kelly coming in to kind of revitalize that running game. This is where Indiana can make their mark. They can jump on them early, do what Penn State did, but also have the wagons and the horses to actually carry that out, right? We saw Penn State jump on them, and they couldn't do anything about it. How do you feel?
Well, this point spread's 12.5 that we're going to pick at, right? So if you're joining us for the first time, we pick the games, in terms of a spread, and we also pick, who's going to win these games straight up. And it sucks that this game is on the road for Indiana, because I think if this game was at home, I would be picking them straight up to win. I think I really would. I just think traveling to Columbus, I think the fans are going to be excited for this game because not that this Indiana team isn't ready to play in a tough environment, because they have already a couple of them, but I'm definitely taking Indiana cover plus 12.5. And I might be looking at Indiana in a later segment on this show, but I think it's hard to justify picking them to win straight up. I mean, it is a big point spread, and they could absolutely do it. And I've kind of had it circled in my calendar, maybe, Indiana could win this game, dude. But I guess going back to the tough environment, part of it. I mean, the toughest environment that they've played in this year was East Lansing, which is a tough environment, but not like Columbus, not like Columbus in a top 5 matchup, right? Because otherwise they've gone on the road to play Northwestern, they've gone on the road to play UCLA. Not exactly barn burner environments this season in terms of the Big Ten. So this will be not that Columbus isn't already one of the toughest environments, one in the Big Ten, two in the entire country. But yeah, this might be a different beast that they're heading into. And if Curtis Rourke doesn't take care of the football, because also like the turnover margins, I mean, they've done a really nice job managing that. If they start turning the ball over against a defense that's vastly improving right now, then I could see them, being in a lot of trouble. And also Ohio State has been able to stop the run the last couple weeks against Oregon and Nebraska. That was a little bit of a problem. If Indiana can run the ball, they're winning this game. But I think I lean Indiana cover the 12.5, Ohio State to win.
That's where I'm going to be at too, because I do think it will be somewhat of a competitive game. I don't know if Ohio State, if it, like in the most likely scenarios, is going to be able to really pull away from this Indiana team. And I mean, Indiana, the only thing that scares me is they haven't faced a ton of adversity. And I guess you could call the beginning of the Michigan State game adversity on the road, going down early and then responding very well. And not that I think that really matters, because I think they realize exactly who they're going up against. They know how damn good Ohio State is, and the respect level for the Buckeyes in the Big Ten is obviously at a max. But it could be interesting there. And another thing too is, so I want to ask you this in terms of the quarterback competition here, quarterback battle.
Ooh,
Who
good
is who
question.
would you take here? Because I, for one, I love Curtis Rourke, and I think nationally he's getting a lot of hype, which is
I'll take
fantastic.
Will Howard.
I would take Will Howard too, because
And
I
people
think
are gonna disagree with us completely, and I totally get it. Like I get it. I just let's see Curtis Rourke against this defense.
yeah, and go into Eugene and play really really well. So it'll be very interesting. But also, so Ohio State's gotten a lot of flack in the offensive line, and while I think it definitely is concerning against teams that can really get after the quarterback, but Will Howard's only been sacked 9 times
It's
all
credit to
year.
him.
I think that's what he does very, very well, and also the scheme that they have. And so they got to play ahead of the sticks and make sure that they're not being put in the wrong spots.
Yeah, only
Say,
5 interceptions on the season, 26 passing touchdowns. I'm looking at it as a team. I don't know if those are all Will Howard's touchdowns because they've had some blowouts, but
he's got 24 touchdowns and
24.
interceptions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's nice. That's nice.
he's
Isn't that,
completing
is that not
70.
what Shador Sanders is at, or what he was at? Before this past week or something. So
I could
like
check.
Will Howard is playing damn good football this year, and everyone wants to absolutely crap on him. Everyone wants to absolutely crap on him
Yeah,
for one play, but yeah, it was not a good play. Okay, it's not. But brother, let me tell you, college quarterbacks aren't exactly always elite game clock time managers aware, of certain things. Like Will Howard's still a damn good quarterback, guys. Let's be real.
give me one impact player on each team. That's maybe not gonna get, obviously not. That's not named Will Howard and Curtis Rourke, of course. But like, give me one on Indiana and give me one on Ohio State.
Uh, well, I mean, if you're going to talk about Curtis Rourke, I mean, we could talk about the running backs for Indiana and how they're going to have a big game, but I think it's important to talk about what are these impact plays that they can make through the air, and like who are those guys that are going to be making the plays there. Elijah Sarrett, or Surratt, the transfer from James Madison was a huge get for Indiana. I mean, among many of the other James Madison transfers that they brought over with Kurt Signetti. I mean, he's got 38 receptions, 685 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the year. He's like their guy, and he's a legitimate like Big Ten receiver. Like he's good enough to do that. And I also think they get stuff from all over the place, right? Like Miles Cross, the Ohio transfer, Miles Price, the Texas Tech transfer. Like this is a group of wide receivers that was kind of put together through the portal, and we've seen that work out in some places. We've seen it not work out in some places. Like I look like Nebraska, and I'm like, wow, I was so high on their receiver room. It just hasn't really come together, with those transfers. But in Indiana's case, it has really worked out, and I think that those guys can make impact plays. Not to mention, Omar Cooper, Donovan McCulley. mean, he's not
I
really
think he's
playing that
gone.
much. He's gone. So whatever. But yeah, aside from those running backs, the two running backs that they have there that are really good for Indiana, I mean, that's the guy that you're kind of looking at. And then for Ohio State, I mean, you haven't heard his name like nationally a lot this year, but like, have we forgotten how good this set of edge defenders is? Like, and what kind of pressure that Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau are going to put on Curtis Rourke? Probably those are probably the two best defensive players that Indiana's played all year. Am I right in saying that? I guess Will Johnson for Michigan, but
I don't even know if Will Johnson played in that game, but
yeah,
it's probably that. I mean, maybe yeah, because the Nebraska defensive line's been underwhelming a little bit this year at times, more so recently. But yeah, that's not crazy. I think there's a lot of really talented pieces. The athleticism and speed they're going to see the Ohio State in that front seven. It's going to be interesting to see if they can still run the ball. I'm glad you brought up Elijah Surratt because Oregon was able to take advantage of Denzel Burke and some of these more physical, right, like cornerbacks. But in these one-on-one games, one-on-one matchups, like you have to make plays. You just have to go up and make plays. And Surratt, I think, can do that for Indiana. They have the horses to do that. Penn State did not, other than Tyler Warren. They really don't have, the guys to really get after it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting. It's crazy that this is a big game. It is crazy. I think it's amazing for college football. I think it's amazing for the Big Ten to give people. I mean, it sucks for a lot of these coaches that are been stuck in mediocrity for a while, and then and their
yeah.
AD's got to watch Indiana hire a new coach and go right to the top five.
The
In
the
te-
blessing, the blessing and the curse of the conference realignment, I think, is kind of bared its fruits. In this game, like Indiana has, we don't really know how good they. I mean, we know that they're a good football team, right? But they have been the beneficiary of a really favorable schedule this so far this season. I think they
to
played
put it
like,
lightly,
yeah, like they're gonna end up playing like 7 of the bottom 8 Big Ten teams this year. Like that is very beneficial to them. But also like when they win those games, right? Then all of a sudden these games, like programs that get that schedule break every couple years, then all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're like, wow, like a lot of these schools have a chance. And I thought it'd be like a lesser chance, to make the Big Ten championship if you add more teams, but like I think in some years it actually helps some of the lesser teams if you get those schedule breaks and it gives yourself a chance. Then you just have to win, one big game, right? Or in SMU's case, no real big games. Well,
Louisville,
I guess Pitt and Louisville, yeah, but like Louisville's
but
took a
not
bad
bad.
loss. Pitt's been on the decline. I mean, so yeah, but
It,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, they're doing exactly what we joked Rutgers would do over the summer because Rutgers has
Yeah,
arguably the easiest schedule in the Big Ten because they don't get, you know, I guess Indiana you could throw it there, but they don't get Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Nor none of those teams. So in terms of the talent or the top of the standings, they don't play any of them, and Iowa too on that schedule. So yeah, and Rutgers was going to be in games where like they had chances to win or like they were playing teams that are comparable to them in every single game. And so Indiana is just in talent wise, sure, maybe it's a similar comp, but they're just playing at a very, very high level. And you got to give them credit for dominating these teams. Is there a certain score? Do they have to like if they cover? You think they're still in the playoffs?
like Indiana.
Yeah, like if
I think
if Texas is still in the playoffs after getting
yeah,
smoked by Georgia at home, by the way, are we not going to credit Indiana for losing?
yeah. I'm with you there. I'm with you. If you're gonna punish Indiana, you should also punish Texas. You can't punish
And
both,
Penn State
or you can't.
and
Yeah, and yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. But I don't. The brand, right? I think hurts. It hurts, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. This is gonna be an awesome game.